Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Week 1 in the NFL. Your Philadelphia Eagles kick off their 2024 season this Friday night. How excited are you? I know I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited. Hope you had a wonderful Labor Day. Hope you had a nice little vacation. Hopefully you had a vacation and all that stuff. Hopefully kids go back to school just fine and dandy. It's little Toots' first day of kindergarten today. Now, I've learned as a parent that a lot of things I looked at other parents when they were going through their stuff, and I'm like, that's dumb. Why are you getting upset about that? Why, this and that? And I'm like, no. Now that I go through it, I'm like, I totally understand why people would get upset about the kid going to kindergarten for like the first time, like getting on a bus and that stuff, going through that whole process. Oh, my goodness gracious. Speaking of processes, that Jalen Hurts guy has been going through a process. How's that for a transition? Of learning how to pick up a blitz. This has been a huge problem for the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously a huge problem for the Eagles at the end of last year. So bad, in fact, that he felt the need to talk to another coach about how to beat the blitz because apparently his own coaching staff was like, don't even worry about it. Look, it's a totally different year. And some might say it's unfair to hold last year's demise, last year's horrible ending of the season, affect how you feel about this season and the beginning of this season. I think it's only logical because the last time we saw the Eagles walk off the field, like they didn't even deserve to be a playoff team. The way we watched the Philadelphia Eagles play their last 7 games of the season, including the playoffs, you said, this team is certainly not a 10-1 team. They're not a 10-3 team. They're absolutely not a number 1 seed. They're barely hanging on right now to be a playoff team. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles were at the end of last season. But if you look at the way they played at the end of last year, just look at that 7-game stretch, the team that was 10-1 for the second time in 2 years didn't look like anything. Didn't look anything like the team that we saw end the season. So I think it's only logical that you want to go into this year and you want to take in everything that the Eagles have done in this offseason, from changing coordinators, from changing, not just changing coordinators, but changing coordinators to guys that are more experienced by far than anyone you have had surrounding a Nick Sirianni head coach team, a Jalen Hurts quarterbacked offense. This is far different than anything we have seen. And then you add the talent into that as well. You go into this game on Friday night in São Paulo, Brazil, and you say, this is where you officially turn the page and become the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, and you try to brush aside anything that was the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. For some people, just turning the page to the next season, that could be enough for it. But not for me. Jalen Hurts is in a different role in terms of what he had. Look, we all knew that Jason Kelce was handling the vast majority of it. And I know we'll hear from Nick Sirianni, who did, yes, confirm it over the weekend, saying that Jalen Hurts wasn't asked to pick up the blitz. That was Jason Kelce did the majority of that. But even Nick Sirianni said what Jalen said was 100% true. Now, 2 ways to take this with Nick Sirianni. The number 1 way to take this is exactly how he laid it out there. What Jalen said is 100% true. He feels like his learning was halted when it came to picking up the blitz, shifting protection, that communication with his center. Okay. Well, then that's stupid coaching. Because even if in the moment Jalen Hurts is being told, don't even worry about it, and then Jason Kelce handles it, even in that moment, if that's the way it plays out, Jalen not going to the sideline and immediately being told, hey, this is what's happening, even if it's in practice, this is why we shifted protection here, this is why we did this is why we did that. Now you understand, okay, good, now you can apply it for the hopefully many, many years you'll be playing football without Jason Kelce. Everyone and their mother knew last year, that Jason Kelce was probably going to retire. And if he wasn't going to retire at the end of last year, he was going to retire at the end of this year. So you knew he was on borrowed time, essentially. And you knew that clock was ticking as to when he was going to go into his post-playing career full time. It's kind of stupid to not have Jalen Hurts understand how to pick up a blitz, how to shift protection, or anything like that. It's kind of dumb. So Nick Sirianni, let's go with that option 1. Nick Sirianni, maybe just a bad coach. Number 2, here's the thing. He's just covering. Nick Sirianni has covered for his players before. Now, this might sound like it's a little backwards in terms of how he's covering, because he's still taking the blame, but he's saying what Jalen said is 100% true. Who doesn't look good if what Jalen said on WIP last week is 100% true? Who doesn't look? Is it Jalen that doesn't look good? No, Jalen's listening to his coaches. Who doesn't look good? Nick Sirianni doesn't look good. Shane Steichen certainly doesn't look great, but he's not here anymore. Brian Johnson doesn't look good either, but he's not here anymore. You know who's still here? Nick Sirianni. So those, for me, are the two ways to look at it when you think about the fallout. And Jalen Hurts talking about it again when he took to the podium yesterday. We'll let you hear from him. Also, Nick Sirianni talking about it when he talked about it on Sunday, I believe it was. So there's plenty of explanation for why Jalen said what he said and why Jalen was told to do what he did last year when it came to an offensive line picking up a blitz, and how this offensive line with someone who's never shifted the protection for Cam Jurgens, making sure that protection's there for Jalen Hurts. Good times. We'll get all that in there. Also, Jalen just talking about being a sponge this entire offseason, trying to learn Kellen Moore's 95% different offense. That's good. We'll hear from Jalen Hurts on that. And then there's one thing that has not been clarified since Nick Sirianni has taken this new definition of a head coach for himself. He's slipped into this different routine, I think is the way to put it, as a head coach. And you've heard him talk about a lot about how he's in this room, and then he's in that room, then he's talking to Howie, and then he's bouncing over here, and then he's catching up with this player, then he's talking to this coach, and then, I don't know, he's making sure that there's no dry patches in the grass in the Novacare complex. I don't know. He's all over the place. He has time for everything now, that Nick Sirianni. But one thing has not been specified. It's been generalized when talking about a role, but it hasn't been specified. And then finally, friend of the show, Dave Zingaro, had the cojones to ask this question. The change in game planning, finally, that had never been specified from the end of the year press conference last year with Nick and Howie at the podium, where even news started to break about Vic Fangio getting hired. Nick, that's the first time Nick came out and said the offensive coordinator will be in charge of the offense. The defensive coordinator will be in charge of the defense. Nick had never said that about the offense before. Now, why is it relevant? Nick specified when he relinquished play calling responsibilities. He specified that Shane Steichen was going to be handling play calling. Nick was going to be handling the game plan. He specified that. It had never been specified. Last year, all throughout Brian Johnson's tenure as the quote-unquote play caller to the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni specified my offense, my game plan, Brian calls the plays. Specified. Since that moment, since the end of the season till now, it had never been specified. Nick Sirianni visits the game planning meetings. Finally, we have that answer. We have it defined, explained by Nick Sirianni. Thanks to Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philadelphia for asking the question. We'll let you hear what Nick had to say about what he's doing during the game planning meetings. When he's in there, when he's not in there. Believe it or not, I'm very optimistic about this upcoming season. The things that make me go, I don't know about that, really don't have anything to do with the talent on the roster as far as guys physically doing what I think they can do. And certainly look at the skill positions. I even look at the defense, and I'm very excited to see what you can get from this defense and the Vic Fangio-led defense and all that stuff. I'm thrilled that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back, even though Chauncey Gardner-Johnson doesn't seem too thrilled with having to go to Brazil. But we'll get to it all on this show today. Also, oh my goodness gracious, I was away for the weekend. I was in Virginia. I was doing Locked On Phillies postcasts from my cousin-in-law's office. Great Wi-Fi, by the way, out there in Virginia on the boonies. And the Philadelphia Phillies were spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. I had begged that they take 2 or 3. Whew. When they returned home after that Royal Series, they did that. They took 2 or 3 against the Houston Astros. I had said, take 3 or 4. You have to win this series with the Braves. Win it. Don't just split it. Certainly don't lose it. And don't get swept. But take this series with some semblance of authority. And the Phillies did it. 3 out of 4 win the series against the Atlanta Braves, a team that had been a thorn in their side all season long. And who do we have to thank for it above all else? Now, the bullpen was great. The starting pitching, for the most part, was great. But if there was an MVP of that series, that MVP's name is Nick Castellanos. I didn't realize, and credit to the Fox broadcast that actually put this up on the board, 52% of the time Nick Castellanos swings at the first pitch. 52% of the time Nick Castellanos swings at the first pitch. If you were to tell me just that number, I would have said, seems low. I would have put that at like 70% of the time, 75% of the time. You could have even sold me on 85% of the time that he swings at the first pitch. But what the fact that it's only 52%, that was surprising. You know, it's not surprising. He does it more than anyone else in baseball. If you would have told me the stats differently, like if you would have told me Nick swings at the first pitch more than anybody in baseball, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. But if you would have told me it's only 52%, that would have been like, that's surprising. So that would have been a lot higher. But as I pointed out on this show, on Locked On Sports Philadelphia postcast with Phil's there, I've also said that he's hitting 332 when he swings at the first pitch. Nick won you a game with a 2-run home run in this game off Garrett Holmes. And then Nick won you a game or tied the game at 2-2 in the 6th inning, I believe it was in that game, in game 4. And then Nick won it in extra innings in the 12th inning with a single off of Brad Holmes. It's or excuse me, not Garrett Holmes, that happened later. But then he got you with the single to win the game, to walk it off in extra innings. Nick Castellanos could very well be the Phillies MVP for the last 3 months of the season. Sure, you had a great hot streak with Bryce Harper in there. You had a great hot streak with Trey Turner in there. But if you're looking for Mr. Consistency, that has been Nick Castellanos for this baseball team for now, going into the last 4 months of the season. And to step up in what was the most important series of the season, with a month left now, it speaks volumes to how valuable he truly is. And there were certain things that went on in that game. Oh my goodness gracious! I was furious at one point. We'll get into it, but there was one point where I was screaming at the TV in Virginia amongst a bunch of people that didn't really care about this game at all. They were just happy to watch a baseball game. And of course, I run my mouth because you know me, and I'm watching the game. And Nick Castellanos, in one particular instance, where he's got that was against Garrett Holmes. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was against Schwellenbach. He doesn't swing at the first pitch, and it was a cookie. It was a beach ball. It was a meatball with the Parmesan already sprinkled on top, all nice, and he passed up on that first pitch. He went deeper into the count, and that's where he got the game-tying 2-run single to tie it up at 2 runs apiece. I thought you didn't like Nick Castellanos or something. I'm like, I do like him, but that really frustrated me. Of all the times not swinging the first pitch, that one was right there to drive out of the park. Anyway, so we'll get into that. But let's start it out with your Philadelphia Eagles, who, yes, do kick things off this Friday night. I can't wait. I am beyond excited. You're going to get it all underway. You're going to get the Phillies there going into October. The Eagles underway. The Sixers will get underway. The Flyers, everything will be under. Oh, man, fall's going to be a good time in Philadelphia. But let's start it off with your Philadelphia Eagles. First off, here's most of the players' reaction on having to go to Brazil. Ugh. Thank you. All right, now, Jalen Hurts picking up the blitz. We all know how much of a problem it was last year. Jalen Hurts was asked to expound a little bit upon his words on WIP about what it's been like for him to pick up the blitz and what it's like to learn how to pick up the blitz through this offseason.
I think we've gotten better in all aspects. I think there are some things that are more glaring, right, that we see that pop out more pointed to the eye. But I think there are a ton of different things that we need to improve on. And I think as a football team, we've taken steps in the right direction. And now we have the opportunity to assess where we are. And that's the exciting part about it.
He expanded upon that as well, talking about his responsibilities when it comes to that.
As a quarterback, you're always evolving. You're always growing. You're always taking in new knowledge and new information, and I think that's what makes us better. And that's always been my approach, is to grow every day, learn every day, and take in the coaching every day. And as I said, I have new roles and responsibilities, but everybody has new roles and responsibilities on each team in each year, because no team is the same when you go from year to year. And so I'm just excited for this group.
This group, his role with the group and all that. Here's where my mind jumped to when I was listening to that part of the answer yesterday. I made a big deal about the turnover portion of this answer. And this was at the open practice. Jalen Hurts addressed the media, and he was asked all the turnovers, cutting down the turnovers. How do you turn the ball over less? And Jalen Hurts said last year he was doing what he was coached to do. So deep balls down the field where they seem somewhat untimely might have come more so from the coaching staff urging him to do that and him trying to appease his coaches because he wants to be coachable. He even said that in this press conference. I'm trying to be coachable. It wasn't just about turnovers. He answered the question. The question was about turnovers. But as far as what he was asked to do, I think that also related to blitz protection. I don't think it just had to do with the turnovers. And one could absolutely lead to the other. You got a blitz in your face trying to get rid of the football. You throw a bad throw. You rush it, whatever the case might be. You rush the whole process. You didn't read everything in front of you. That could lead to a turnover as well. What I've been coached to do, whether that's bombing the ball downfield, whether that's throwing the line of scrimmage like it seems to be this year, at least through training camp, we understand that Jalen Hurts is not afraid to throw that check down pass anymore. And maybe under a Nick Sirianni-led offense and not a Kellen Moore-led offense, Jalen Hurts was, again, doing what he was coached to do. If he's coached, once again, to not worry about blitz pickup, if he's coached, again, to not worry about helping his center shift protection and having that communication with his center, if that's what he was coached to do in the past, that's dumb. I even said this before any explanation came out further from the Eagles, whether it was Nick Sirianni, whether it was Jalen Hurts. I said this last week. Jalen Hurts going into going off to the sideline after plays and all that stuff throughout last year, after a series last year, whatever, after a possession last year. And he goes to the sidelines. He's not being told why things shifted, or he's not being told throughout the week why things shifted or why there was a change of protection or what the protection was, why it was, all that. If he's not being told that, that absolutely is halting the progression of your quarterback learning his position. Your franchise quarterback learning his position. You're up to $250 million quarterback learning his position. That's dumb. Okay. But if I was to ask you, even going into last year, hey, who do you want controlling protection? Who do you want? Who do you trust? Do you trust Jalen Hurts, or do you trust a Hall of Fame center that's been doing it for 14 years? Who do you trust to do that? I think most logical thinking people would say, I kind of trust the center. Thank you. We're all on the same page there. But that's not the point. The point is, well, that center's no longer here. You have a guy now doing it that's never done it before, and Cam Jurgens at the NFL level. And Jalen Hurts was never coached the right way to go about it. You think that might just have something to do with the idea that's why he struggled so much against the blitz at the end of last season? You think that? I think that's part of it. I think that's a big part of it. One thing that is just so wild to me that a lot of people don't realize, I think it's something, one of those things that people, like, they know, but they don't realize it. Like, if you ask them the fact, yeah, they understand, and they go, okay, but they don't really understand why it is what it is. I don't think a lot of people understand, like, these are athletes. They're not all prima donnas, but a lot of them want to be coached. And one thing has been true about Jalen Hurts in his career. It's always been coming out that he wants to be coached hard. And Nick Sirianni was a big thing going into last year. Jalen Hurts wants to be coached hard. Do you coach him hard? That kind of thing. If someone wants to be coached hard, they're kind of telling you they need to be coached hard. And I'm not saying that's a lack of motivation, but that's saying I am holding myself as Jalen Hurts to such a high standard that I want you to be hard on me because I'm going to be hard on me. And if you're taking that extra step to coach me up and understand what's in front of me, well, then guess what? I'm going to apply my work ethic to that as well. And that's only going to expedite the process of me understanding what's going on in front of me and why it's going on. That's only going to help that entire process. And for whatever reason, Nick Sirianni just thought it wasn't necessary. I don't know what you were. Like, I understand, hey, just submit to Jason Kelce making the call. I get that. But explain to me why that call is being made. And yeah, it's good to hear from Kellen Moore yesterday about the communication between Cam Jurgens and Jalen Hurts, and they're understanding each other, and they're always talking, and they're always blah, blah. That's great. I got to see it Friday night. That is, going back to it, that is one of the concerns I have about going into the season is Nick Sirianni's fingerprints on this whole thing, because even if he is not in charge of the offense anymore, even if he is this overseer of the entire team as he is now, we'll hear from him in a second, even if that's what he is, it's a concern to me because this is ass backwards how the Eagles are doing this. It's not the first time they've done this before. I've made the comparisons about pushing Howie aside, giving full control to Chip, and then bringing Howie back, and then 2 years later they win a Super Bowl. That's unconventional. That doesn't happen. I can't think of anyone else in the NFL that was told a GM, you go away and let this guy do it, and then we might bring it back. And then you bring him back, and then you win a Super Bowl? Huh? So I don't understand how this all works with Nick Sirianni, where he was the head coach, game planner, and play caller, and he was also hired because he was emotional intelligent, and now right now it seems like the only thing he is emotional intelligent. And all that other stuff has gone to other people. That responsibility has gone on somebody else's plate, and he gets to bounce around from dinner table to dinner table. It's kind of the way I have to look at it now. So this is a concern. That's a concern. Nick Sirianni, what exactly he's doing here. Is he just going to excel now that he has less power on the actual game day operations than ever? Maybe. The other concern is what I just elaborated on, which was the whole blitz pickup thing. Because A.J. Brown's really good at football, which is why that's why I'd like to get him the football. Devontae Smith, he's really good at football. I'd like to get him the football. Saquon Barkley's really good at football. I'd like to get him the football. Dallas Goedert, when he's healthy, I'd like to get him the football. You know, all that's great. But if the quarterback can't get them the football because he's on his back or he's being flushed out of the pocket in panic mode abruptly, then guess what? Nobody's getting that football. And these wonderful pieces to the puzzle that Howie Roseman acquired in the offseason, they don't get used because the quarterback isn't being able to complete passes. The quarterback isn't able to read a defense, and the quarterback is just being rushed out of the pocket, and the field is being cut in half. So if A.J. Brown is on the right side of the field, if Dallas Goedert's on the right side of the field, then that means Devontae Smith's over somewhere else. No one's seen him. That means John Dotson is somewhere else and nobody's seeing him. Kind of like to get the ball in their hands a little bit. Maybe Saquon's running in the opposite direction, and now all of a sudden Jalen Hurts might have to bail out and throw an errant pass across the other side of the field. That's how ugly this could get. I don't see that happening, but a lack of understanding what the defense is doing can lead to a lot of problems. And even if it's one turnover in a close game is far too many, i.e. the Jets game last year. So that's a concern I have going into this season. But when it comes to everything else with Nick Sirianni, here he is being asked about what Jalen had to say on the radio and whether or not that was the real deal.
What Jalen said specifically was that he was basically told that he didn't have to worry about certain protection stuff because Kelce handled that. And he said, was that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, the different guys, again, there's things that happen at the line of scrimmage. There's some teams that it's all, all the quarterback. There's some teams that it's all the center. There's some teams that's a mix. And, and so again, it was, Jalen being able to do some other things at the line of scrimmage and Kelce handling a big portion of it. What he said is, what he said is 100% true.
All right. A big portion of it. Fair. I told you guys before, Jason Kelce, one of the interviews he did before he announced his retirement official, he was on with, of all people, David Spade and Dana Carvey on their podcast, Fly on the Wall. And he was asked about communication with the quarterback. And when he was asked about it, what he had broken down was he's never going to overrule the quarterback. The quarterback has the final say. But with his experience, oftentimes Jalen's going to trust him. That makes sense to me. That is not controversial. Like, I think some people are trying to make that part of it controversial right now because the quarterback should have final say, and he should. But if you're telling me you have a guy with all this experience that's built a Hall of Fame career, I'd rather have him do it, wouldn't you? I feel like this is obvious. It's not, but for whatever reason, it's not obvious to a lot of other people. Jalen Hurts not being told or coached how to pick it up, that's the controversy. Jalen Hurts openly admitting that he feels like his progress was halted because of it. That's the controversy. That's the spicy meatball right there. Everything else just seems like, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Not kind of. It does make sense. So listening to Nick Sirianni talk about Jalen Hurts as if it's like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. What he says is 100% true. Okay. I hope some of that is you just taking it on the chin there, Nick, as you have, and as many coaches, most coaches do for their players. As far as the rest of this puzzle piece goes for Nick Sirianni, I do find it fascinating that it had never been specified that Nick Sirianni was no longer doing game plan. I think it was mostly assumed, but the words never really came out of his mouth that he is in and out of the game plan room and he's bouncing around other things. So this is the biggest difference. The biggest difference in all the changes from last year to this year is that Nick is not in that room nearly as much as he has been throughout his head coaching career here with the Philadelphia Eagles. This might be a huge sigh of relief for a lot of people because of a lot of things that were used and sometimes worked and then stopped working as much, like bubble screens, could have been more so the development and the from the mind of Nick Sirianni. Jalen Hurts being coached to throw the football downfield on a 1st and 10 when you're up in the first quarter, in the fourth quarter. That might be a Nick Sirianni urging as opposed to a Jalen Hurts just being like, well, let me bomb it downfield. What the hell? Let's go for it. So that type of mentality seems to be a big shift. And listening to Jalen Hurts 3 months ago now, 2.5 months ago, talk about the 95% different offense, talk about how he's going into sponge mode with his new offensive coordinator. This could be a great thing in terms of a turnaround for Jalen Hurts and getting back to, again, MVP caliber play. So Nick yesterday, or 2 days ago, was finally asked the question by Dave Zingaro of NBC Sports Philadelphia about this offense and how Kellen Moore is taking the reins as the offensive coordinator and game plan.
Offensive game planning, I know that was a really big role of yours in the past. How much does that change with Kellen here?
Yeah, obviously love going into the offensive game plan meetings and really had, obviously we're 2 days into, or we've been game planning a little bit longer than that, but, going in there and sitting in there and listening and contributing, but also being able to step out if I need to go talk to a player, being able to step out and, go talk to Howie about the roster, or being able to step out, go checking in on the defense. I find that very freeing, that I'm able to stretch myself to different spots that I'm needed, and not have to be hunkered down into. You ask Howie, you'd be like, man, I couldn't see Nick for Monday, Tuesday after the players left. It just wasn't a lot of opportunities. But being able to do that is really important. But also being able to give my expertise in the offensive room is really important as well.
It's all important. That's great. It was the first time it's ever been specified that Nick's not going to be in that room as much. I thought of all the rooms that he might stick around in, the game plan one would be, if I'm a head coach, that's kind of where I'd want to be. I can't think for the life of me that Nick was like, oh, yeah, you know what this room needs? Less of me. And that's not ego. I think that's just a head coach who's supposed to be offensive minded. I think he would want to be in that game plan room as much as possible. But now seems pretty giddy about the idea of go talk to Howie, go talk to another coach, go talk to a player. Okay, here's where we're at. When I talk about the diminishing responsibilities of Nick Sirianni, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Not even in the game plan room, as an offensive-minded head coach. look, that part of it, none of this is shocking. The whole this is what we all assumed, but it never been, like I said, spelled out that, yeah, he's not really in that game plan room nearly as much. He'll go to the wide receivers room. He'll pop into there. Like, he's all over the place. People will call that the CEO type coach, but I think if you're an offensive minded head coach, there's things that are going on that's game plan wise. I think you want to be a part of that as much as humanly possible. The guy with the final say, the guy in charge, is Kellen Moore. That's not different. But the game plan being as specified as it was, I found very interesting. So that's where we're at as far as this Eagles team goes going into this season, Friday night, where it all gets underway against a very, very good Green Bay Packers team that, as the Eagles were falling apart, the Packers were putting it together. And there's a big conversation going into this season about who would you rather have, Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts. You can take this and understand that, there's a lot of bias that comes along with this. One of the things in going back and watching some of the Packers against the Cowboys last year in the playoffs, Dan, they're a good coach team, man. LaFleur knows what the hell he's doing over there in Green Bay. That's the number one thing. Their game plan against the Cowboys was fantastic. Their game plan was actually something that I think a lot of fans yell at their team, and I know we do it in Philadelphia. We've yelled at our team. We've yelled at the Eagles to run the football, and when they had that great offensive line last year and still continue this great offensive line this year. Hope all that comes together. Run the football, man. Run the football. Saquon getting touches with receptions, that's great, but putting the ball in his hands right there at the line of scrimmage to run up the middle, whatever the case might be, that's a wonderful thing to think about. But Matt LaFleur and the Packers offense went out and did that against the Dallas Cowboys last year, where they controlled the game. That's the first thing that jumped out to me. The second thing was, of all the Jordan Love I've watched, that Packers game against the Cowboys in the playoffs, just visually, things he was doing on the field reminded me so much of Aaron Rodgers, man. It wasn't just the uniform. It was like the mannerisms, the way he went about playing, play action fakes where he has that kind of quick turn, even for like raising his left foot up a little bit as he fires the ball downfield. Like everything he was doing looked like Aaron Rodgers. Everything he was doing looked like Aaron Rodgers. The third thing was, oh yeah, that's right, the Cowboys suck. That's the other thing. that was the third thing. Number one was LaFleur and his great game plan. Number two was Jordan Love looking like Aaron Rodgers, prime Aaron Rodgers. And number three was, oh yeah, the Cowboys suck. That's what I took away from it. But that was one hell of a route that the Packers put on the Cowboys last year. And now they're going to be meeting the Eagles in Brazil for week one this Friday night. Can't wait. Also, don't forget, this Friday night, Seth Joyner, myself, Derek Gunn, we will be at Parks Casino for the first installment of the Parks Casino pre- and post-game show presented by Pond Lee Hockey. I'll be anchoring that coverage with the great analysis of Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner, who doesn't just give you the opinion that you want to hear. He gives you the opinion you need to hear. And then Derek Gunn with his game day breaking news. Nobody knows the birds like Gunner. So I look forward to continuing coverage with those very familiar faces for you guys throughout all of football season. We'll, of course, continue to talk about this. There are a couple players that have talked about not wanting to be out there in Brazil. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was tweeting about it. Darius Slay literally told his family, don't come on this trip. I know we had Gabriel Bessa on last week from Brazil, Eagles fan from Brazil, became an Eagles fan in 2009 when he saw the Eagles beat the crap out of the Giants in a random regular season game, and he stayed with them ever since. Looked up the Eagles, saw they won no Super Bowls, and he was like, I'm in. Get me in. I like the underdog. I also like Rocky Balboa. That's what he said. And Gabriel told us, where you can wear your green. Enough people don't understand that you're probably from out of town, and you're not rooting for the Sao Paulo Corinthians. So people get it, but be careful with your jewelry. Be careful with how you have your cell phone. We talked about it. Typical city rules here. April, I think you referred to it in the chat as Kensington rules. Yeah. Don't have your cell phone out there. Have it close if you're going to have it out. Don't wear the flashy jewelry. And if anyone wearing a fanny pack or a purse that might be over their shoulder, whatever, any bag you'd be carrying over your shoulder, whatever, be careful. be careful. Head on a swivel at all times. Players were told. I mean, A.J. Brown literally said we had the don't do meeting. So he doesn't plan on leaving his hotel room. One of the questions I got from people that do not follow the Eagles, I was in 2 different groups over the weekend, and a lot of people weren't big Eagles fans in these groups, and they're just like, so why are they playing in Brazil? Roger Goodell wants to make the NFL global. This is my answer. This is my take on it. Roger Goodell wants to make the NFL global. I feel that before Roger Goodell is done as the commissioner of the NFL, there will be an NFL team in London. There will be an 18-game schedule, a 20-week NFL schedule with 2 bye weeks. That's where I believe we're headed. I'll never forget, of all things, GQ put out a story on Roger Goodell years and years ago. And I want to say this was maybe like 10 years ago. And they put a story on Roger Goodell, and it really highlighted the guy's mentality. And this included things from like how he started with the NFL and basically doing everything Paul Tagliabue did, or what Paul Tagliabue needed to be done. Roger Goodell was the guy that would handle it. And then Roger Goodell taking over contracts for the NFL and telling them, I think it was Reebok, call Reebok and let's renegotiate this deal. And the executives of the NFL were like, we just got this deal done. What do you mean renegotiate? He's like, we're the NFL. We can do whatever we want. Like, that was the attitude. And if it was just about one Reebok deal, imagine what it is now, this long into his tenure as the NFL commissioner, and how many games you have seen on international stages now. This is all impressive. The season has literally been expanded. People told me I was nuts when I told, oh, no, we're going to have more than 16 games. We're going to have more than a 16-game schedule before Roger Goodell's done. Now he's got that. And now he's got some years left in him. What else? What else is coming? And I know people will talk about the players. Players want to get paid. Players get one more paycheck. Players are going to be happy. As far as more overseas games, oh, yeah, there's going to be more overseas games. And I am fully expecting there to be a London-based NFL team. Fully expecting it. And if it ain't going to be London, it's going to be somewhere else. So why are they in Brazil? Global expansion. That's why. The 6th largest city in the world. That's pretty good to show your sport too, right? That's why they're playing in Brazil. It's not just some fun business trip. And I do give the Eagles credit because I think they're going about it with the right mindset. Like the Packers are too. I think everybody that plays in these types of games, they understand it. This is a business trip to Brazil. They're going down there to win a football game, and then they're going to come home. That's where we're headed. Even though the players don't seem like they're that excited about it. I did hear, the only person I really heard that was like really into it, like more so, like when Jalen Hurts was asked about it yesterday, Jalen Hurts gave you like coach speak, a great opportunity for the NFL, great opportunity to go down there, great opportunity to show off the game, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, that seemed like it was right out of a PR handbook. But Jahan Dotson was like, this is great. Like, I would probably be more along the lines of Jahan Dotson than I would anybody else just because I'm a sucker for culture. You know what I mean? But it does not appear like a lot of the Eagles players have the best vibe about going to Brazil to play this game. All in all, it seems like both guys are just going to hang out in their hotel room, go to the game, win a game, go back to the hotel, or get on a flight and come back to Philadelphia. So we'll see what else the Eagles got going on for this week in preparation for kicking off the regular season, but I know I am stoked. As far as your Philadelphia Phillies go, here's the way things look right now for your Phillies. This is after they took 2 or 3, it should be 3 or 4 from the Atlanta Braves over the weekend, finally won a series against the Braves. The Phillies, despite as terrible as they were, for what, a month and a half? It was almost identical to what the Yankees did in their awful month and a half long hiccup. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball right now. They're a game and a half up on the Phils. The Phils are up a half game on the Brewers, who are 2 games out of first place overall in Major League Baseball. The Yankees are 3 out. The Orioles are 3.5 out. The Guardians 4 out. Padres picking up steam, and the Atlanta Braves down there at 8.5 games out of first place. That's where the Phillies are right now, despite how terrible they have been. And now your Philadelphia Phillies, after winning 3 of 4 against the Braves, the Phillies are now 7-3 in their last 10 games. The only team in baseball with a better record than the Phillies over their last 10 games are the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs have won 8 of their last 10. That's the best record in baseball over the last 10 games. Phillies, all of a sudden, just like that, against upper echelon playoff caliber teams, the Royals, the Astros, and the Atlanta Braves, they won all those series. They didn't split. They won them. How about that? And a huge reason as to why they won those games and how they won those games is a fella named Nick Castellanos. And what I really I can't get. And here's one thing that I really find interesting about doing these Locked On Sports Philadelphia Phillies postcasts is I really do get a lot of people that are not in the Philadelphia market or not in the not part of the Philadelphia fan base. They'll just watch, like I'm talking about the Braves. They'll want to watch me talk about the Braves. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the Braves because they're playing the Phillies, and I can't just mention the Phillies on a post-game show. I got to mention what the other team did too. And I'm really amazed at the amount of people that are like, Brian Snitker needs to be fired. He sucks. And, hey, congratulations to the Phillies on winning a good game. And I'm like, what is this? Like this, I don't see us doing this. Do you guys go into other for the YouTube people? Do you guys go into other people's chats on other shows and be like, hey, that was a really good game by you guys? No, I don't know anybody that does that in the Philadelphia market. Hey, that was a really good game, Braves. Nice work. It's like, but I'm like reading the comments, and yes, 90% of them are Philadelphia sports fans, obviously, you know. But then there's like 10%, whatever, like, hey, that was a really good game. Brian Singer needs to be fired, but that was a really good game. You guys really took it from us. I know, that's so wild to me. But yeah, they're talking about Brian Singer wanting to get fired. Hey, he needs to be fired and all that stuff. So I watched this game then play out on Sunday night. And Nick Castellanos goes in there in the 6th inning against Schwellenbach with 2 outs, 2 on, 2nd and 3rd. And he takes the first pitch of all pitches. And then he gets an 0-2 slider in on the hands a little bit. And he puts it in the center field for a 2-run base hit. 2-2 ball game. Then in the 11th inning, the game on the line, still tied at 2. Brian Snitker decides to take out Bummer and bring in Garrett Holmes. Garrett Holmes is who Nick Castellanos hit a home run off of, a 2-run home run, which ended up being the game-winning home run in the first game of this series, I think it was. So Brian Snitker says, hey, let's run it back. Let's bring in Garrett Holmes again to face Nick Castellanos. Let's see how this one goes. Castellanos wins it with the RBI single. Phillies storm out of the dugout, mob Nick Castellanos. Phillies win the series against the Braves. Snitker also had some other issues in this series that, that's long ago. It's 20 games ago. I'm not going to go into it, but he didn't have a great series. And I totally understand why Braves fans would be pissed off. But the thing that's amazing to me is that the Braves have lost every position player pretty much, and the only reason they're in it is because their pitching has been amazing. Oh, and Marcell Ozuna is like an MVP candidate, even though like everyone's fighting for second place behind Shohei. But I think if it was any other city, I think a lot of people would be, we lost this guy, that guy, and the other guy, and this guy's keeping it together somehow. That deserves more praise than anything. Until you have the same guy that Nick Castellanos put you in front against, coming to face him again in a walk-off situation. How did you think that was going to go, Brian Snitker? Because I'll tell you how it was going to go. I'll tell you how it went. Went in the Phillies' favor again. It was overall just a really fun series. Hopefully, Bohm is on his way back. Ranger Suarez looks like he'll be okay. It was all just part of the plan to remove him after But at the 4 innings, yeah, 78 pitches, I think it was. A little scary, but all right. It came out that Bryce Harper has been dealing with a nagging elbow and wrist injury. He said it's not an excuse, but it's there. Okay, maybe that's why he hasn't hit a home run since August 9th. But there is one thing I do want to say about Bryce Harper. And I don't want to be just the guy waving pom-poms here, but Alec Boehm, when he sucks, most other players look at Alec Boehm and go, oh, that's when he sucks? I'd love to have that, you know? Like, Alec Boehm's still driving and runs for this team when he was out there, and now he's obviously dealing with this wrist injury, inflammation. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But when I watched Bryce Harper, I was listening to him over the weekend for the national broadcast talking about how much Bryce Harper has been struggling. There is no question the power isn't there. Again, he hasn't hit a home run since August 9th. But he's also coming off a month of August where he hit damn near 300 with an on-base percentage of about 370. Also had a couple more hits in the finale of this one, including in that 6th inning, getting that double down the left field line with a little English on that baseball, rolling it into foul territory to get runners on 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs, at least give the Phillies an opportunity with Nick Castellanos coming up to the dish. He's still helping this team win ball games. He might not be hitting the long ball, but he's hitting for average and he's getting on base. And speaking of when he sucks, most other players want what he has. That's Bryce Harper too. Oh, Bryce Harper sucks. Yeah, 300 with a 373 on base percentage. I think most players in the MLB would love to have that. And people still looking at it like, oh, God, this is terrible. Yeah, I'd like him to hit 20 home runs, sure. In the last month of the season. But if I get a guy who's not making outs, if I get a guy who's hitting with runners in scoring position, if I get a guy who's getting on base for his team, I'll take that guy too. Because that guy's still pretty damn good. I hope in the last month of the season now, September 3rd, I would hope for the last month of the season you get an MVP caliber Bryce Harper. Because with an MVP caliber Bryce Harper, even if it's not MVP caliber for the season, which it's not going to happen, but if it's MVP caliber in September and he gets hot into October and through the playoffs and all that stuff, you're not only thinking about being the best team in baseball, you're thinking about winning a World Series. And that's what brings me to this. So the Philadelphia Phillies had that 6-game homestand, 2 against the Marlins, and then 4 against the Washington Nationals. And they won 4 of those games. They won 3 against the Nationals. They won 1 against the Marlins. They split with them, and then 3 out of 4 against the Nationals. And people in that series wanted to talk about whether or not the Phillies were back. And I know it's in my title of the show, and here's what I firmly believe. The Phillies are back. What did you want them to be back to? If you wanted to bring up this conversation, if you wanted to bring up this talking point, after they took 3 of 4 from the Nationals, then in your mind, they were back to just beating crappy baseball teams. That was never the goal for me. The goal for me, for the Phillies, was to get them back to being true World Series contenders. They took it on the chin against the Braves. Then they went to KC, and they took 2 or 3 for the Kansas City Royals, a good baseball team. Then they hosted the Houston Astros, another first-place good baseball team, and they beat the Houston Astros 2 out of 3. Then, of all the injuries, the Phillies still had to go up against one hell of a rotation in the Atlanta Braves. And I still had to watch Ronaldo Lopez pitch to Kyle Schwarber, and Kyle Schwarber being maybe 2 more pitches away from just being Bryce Harper against Holby Milner, who's like, I have no idea where this ball's going, so I'm just going to stand here and hope for the best. Hopefully there's 4 balls that are not in the strike zone, and I trot down the first base line and I take a walk. We all had to watch that. And they still won 3 out of 4 against the Atlanta Braves. So, are the Phillies back? Back to what? In my mind, that's only relevant to the Phillies being back to being a World Series contender. The way they handled themselves against the Royals, the Astros, and this Atlanta Braves team lead me to believe that, yes, the Phillies are back. The Phillies are back to being the only thing that matters, a World Series contender, a true World Series contender. Not just being back to a team that beats the Nationals, because thank you very much, I already knew you could beat the Nationals. The Phillies are back to being a legit World Series contender. Now, in this end of the season, final month of the year, you got the Mets on the slate for 7. That'll be fun. You got a 4-game series coming up with the Marlins after you're in Toronto for 2. And talk about thorn in your side. Oh, my goodness gracious, the Marlins are a thorn on the Phillies' side. Handle your business, Phillies. You have a great opportunity in front of you to go out there and do it. Handle your business right now. And speaking of right now, you should log on to The Farzy Show on YouTube if you're not already. And you should like and subscribe to The Farzy Show. If you're not already, you should like and subscribe to Jacob Media. If you haven't already, you should like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel, where yours truly, especially after tonight, Phillies back at it after a day off yesterday. Yours truly will be on Locked On Sports Philadelphia for your Phillies postcast after the game tonight. And also for Friday night and the rest of the NFL season, like and subscribe to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, where Seth, Gunner, and myself will be giving you guys your Eagles pre- and post-game coverage on the Seth Joyner YouTube show channel, as well as 6abc.com and your favorite social media platforms. Available all over the place. All over the place. Before I go any further, let me tell you about the wonderful people at Game Time. The Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZY, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. That's the Game Time app. And don't forget about Game Time Picks. This filters out the fluff, so you get the best seats at the best deals with Game Time Picks. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZY, get $20 off your first purchase. Here's what I love about the Game Time app, not just Game Time Picks, but you can also toggle the all-in pricing feature so you know exactly what you're paying before you check out. So there's no surprise sticker shock at the end. Oh, my goodness, how much are these tickets? $20? How did they become $30? No, you toggle that feature on the Game Time app. You know exactly what you're paying before you check out. You can also view your seat before you buy it, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app on your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZY, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Terms apply. Game Time app. What time is it? Game time. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about our friends at Sky Motor Cars? This is Brett, our good friend at Sky Motor Cars. Check out SkyMotorcars.com for Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this fine Tuesday morning. Oh, boy. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Jason A., nice to see you. April. James Alexander, good morning, Farzy. Had a great time at Citizens Bank Park. There you go. It was a fight between Braves fans and Phillies fans. At the end of the day, we got 3 out of 4 against the Braves. Hell yeah. Miguel Lara, what's going on? Good morning, Farzy. No birds, 365. I guess they had the day off yesterday for Labor Day. I'm sorry, what? Cheesesteak chips? I'll have cheesesteak chips. I'll have that. April, good morning, fam. Miguel, it's 3:35 a.m. in California, and I'm at the gym tuning in. Hey! You could do it, Miguel. Lift them weights. You could do it. This is your motivation. Go out there and do it, Miguel. You get those weights. Is that good? All right. Workout for me. Workout for me too. Tampa Eagle, hello from Tampa. No way. Hey, go Birds. Go Birds. April, hope Wiltus has a great first day. Putting her on the bus today. Oh, boy. I'm going to be fine. My wife and I were talking about yesterday. My emotions will be dictated by her emotions. If she's cool, I'm cool. If she loses it, I am an emotional man. I am an emotional man. I come from an emotional people. But Jason, but thank you, April. Let's hope all the tempering expectations pays off this year, because last year they crushed under the expectations. Yes, they did, Jason. Good morning. Hi, B.I. Sanchez. Good afternoon from Turkey. Waking up to the Phillies wins 3 out of 4 nights. And at least ain't over yet. What? Oh, the Mets are still 7.5 games back. Yeah, sure. Yeah, how about Edmundo Sosa? How about Edmundo? What a series he had. Respect Turkey friend. A friend of mine used to go to vacation. He'd go on vacation to Turkey. And I'd be like, who goes to Turkey for vacation? He was a martial artist. Is that what you call that? And he would like go over to Turkey and train members of the military. Yeah, he's a badass dude. I would actually go to Turkey. I'm such a history nerd. Like, I'd love to go to Turkey. Now that I think about it, I've become more of a history nerd since knowing that dude. I'd go to Turkey. I'd check it out. Mia Sanchez. Oh, you're back home in the States early next week. All right. Jay State, we all know you need that great Wi-Fi, Farzi. Yeah, right? Cassie has been on fire. It's so good to see. Just want to see in the playoffs, as do I. Tampa Eagle, Philly stepped up in a big way. Go, Nick. Wait. Stress. I won't lie. I was nervous for this Brave series. There was some really good pitching for the fighting Phils over the weekend. They were incredible over the weekend. And what really, Nick Castellanos, and then the bullpen stole the show. What is it now? Strom, Hoffman, Estevez, and Kerkering have combined for, I think, 14 and a third scoreless innings. That's pretty damn good. Jonathan Harvey, is this Big Dom saying this? This is Brazil, Dom. Larry, hello. I recently found your channel and can already tell that your content is great. Thanks, Larry. I would love to stick with you long term. If you're open to it, I'll be willing to connect with you on Discord. My name is Larry. Hello, Larry. Stick with me all you want, pal. If you're not a bot. All right, anyway. Slaggers57. I don't see any controversy. Kelsey called protections because he's Kelsey. That kept Hurts from game experience at it. That would hold anyone's progress. Makes sense to me. Meh. I see your point. However, I don't feel the point is just overall it halted his progress, because I think if he's making that point, he's illustrating that. I think Jalen Hurts will make that point about I don't call it in a game. Kelsey handles that, but then it's explained to me. For me, this whole thing's different. If the point was made about Jalen Hurts saying coaches still coach that part of it up to him, but Jason handled it in a game. And also, it doesn't get compounded by already knowing that after the Giants game, Jalen Hurts called Wink Martindale to be like, hey, how do I do this? He had to reach out to that guy and not his coaching staff, which I don't blame him for at all. Excuse me. Eagles fan, I think this is about Jordan Love. Yeah, throws like Aaron Rodgers, absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. IBH, that's cool. Farzi, in today's Inquirer, there's a story on the Eagles fan base in Brazil. Big photo of Super Bowl 52. Watch party back in the day. Looks like our man Gabriel Bessa right in the middle. That's great. That's our man. Sir Sketchable. What's up, Sir Sketchable? Ray, what's going on? Eagles fan, it's a dump? What? April, why does your motivation voice sound like Gabe Kapler? It's the same voice. I mean, if we're being real. Just put down that coconut oil. Get back to those weights. That is also my Gabe Kapler voice. Now check out my Instagram for my latest trench coat. Anyway. All right. Don't encourage. Don't encourage. Don't encourage. Oh, April, I love watching the O's fans melt over Kimbrel. Oh, is he terrible again? That's great. Slager, totally agree that it's an issue if they weren't coaching. Okay, I agree. You and I are on the same page there. Thank you. Yeah, the O's. How about who was it? Gunnar Henderson. He hit his 34th home run of the season, which I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's the most Ripken ever hit in a season. So Miguel Tejada. Who else? Cal Ripken, obviously, and Gunnar Henderson, 34 home runs, most in an Orioles season by a shortstop, and Ripken was there behind home plate watching Gunnar Henderson do it. Also April, being in Virginia over the weekend, I haven't heard this said to me. I've only had this said to me twice, and this was the third time it happened. I met someone while they were down there, a friend of the family that was over I'd never met before, who was from Jersey, and I met her. I introduced her. Hey, how you doing? I'm Markin, and she goes, "Oh, are you from the North?" That always throws me a curveball. Because first off, when I was like in Virginia, and I know there are some parts of Virginia that might as well be Alabama, but I didn't think I was in that part. And are you from the North? I was like, yeah. She goes, your accent. I'm like, I never think look, everyone has an accent. I don't think I have that drastic an accent. I do have my thing, like the long vowels, like I go to college. That definitely comes out. Woodard definitely comes out. But I don't think I have like any type of like overbearing accent or anything like that. But apparently with this lady, I did. So Miss Scusi, which means excuse me in a different language. No. Anyway. April. Cracks me up when people ask that. I feel like I should be wearing a Civil War uniform. I totally agree. I was like, do I have my Union Blues on? What's going on? Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. No, April. I know I have an accent. Everyone has an accent. I know I have one. I know people that have like a really thick, like where my dad's family's from, an Ambler. My mom's family's from Baltimore. Those are accents. And the Ambler accent is like a Northeast accent, which is like a real light Delco accent. And a Delco accent, a heavy Delco accent is a Baltimore accent. That's what I've learned. And I definitely have a little touches of all of it. I definitely have it. We all do. That's funny, though. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Eagles, Friday night, season starts. Let's party. Phillies are at it tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays, 7:07 start time. North of the border in Old Canada. Tyler Phillips on the bump against Chris Bassett. Phillips 4-1. Been a minute since he started at the major league level, but I'm happy to see this. Bassett 9-13 on the season with a 4.27 ERA. He's coming off a pretty solid start there against the Boston Red Sox. It did unfortunately result in a loss. He went 6 2/3, 1 run on 5 hits. It was not a home run against the Boston Red Sox, but the Phillies at it tonight again, 7:07 start time. So we can look forward to that. There's one more thing. I thought I had it in my notes. I did not copy and paste it from the Eagles. Let me see if I can grab this real quick for use guys. Okay. So Thursday, Nick Sirianni will address the media in Brazil. There'll be a walkthrough and post-practice media availability. That's Thursday. Today, Nick Sirianni addresses the media again. Locker room is open. Wednesday, the Eagles travel to Brazil. That's tomorrow. Good times. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzana. Make sure you like and subscribe to Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. And make sure you like and subscribe to Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel as well for your pre- and post-game Eagles coverage this season with yours truly, Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner as well. Have a great rest of your day. I'll be with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. Talk all things Phillies on that Locked On Phillies postcast. See you guys then. Have a great rest of your day.